Hello, everybody. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today, giving me just a little slice of your time. I always appreciate it, and I appreciate you. So we've got some things to get into today. I really want to talk about Super Tuesday. I know. Look, hey, I will use any excuse. It's weird. Like, the only thing I've ever wanted in my life is to have a sports show and talk about sports. Like, seriously, since I was like 12, this has been the dream, right? I finally get the dream. I finally get the sports show. And immediately I start looking for excuses to talk about anything but sports. Because I love sports and I love the way that it intertwines and connects with everything else in society, that people don't know how much sports has an impact in their life. For instance, the way we say the word defense came from sports, that people would chant in the early history of the New York Giants, defense, defense. And so we pronounce the word defense, defense, and not defense, like every other English-speaking language or English-speaking country on this earth. So it's just in there. Okay, people are dabbing. They don't know where that comes from, most of them. Sports, man. It's everywhere, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. So I understand that, and then I try and figure out how it just randomly fits in to everything else in our lives. Before I jump into anything in particular, let's talk about the platforms, the multiple different ways that you can contact us and listen to us. If you want to contact us, reach us out. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Those are your best bets. And not completely unsurprisingly, we interact with you. We love to respond to you. We take time out of our lives. Okay, I'm on Facebook every day. I check and see who's commenting. We have like 100% comment rate on Facebook. So boom, say something. I'll say something back. And Twitter, we're there. We're all over it. If you see a news story developing, tweet it at us. Okay, we'll be on there covering that like the white on rice. Okay, we'll be all over it. So again, this is give and take. There is no radio without you. And of course, YouTube, we stream all of our episodes live, and then they're stored on YouTube. They're classic episodes. We never call them old. And of course, if you want to listen to us in just your browser, hotnewstalkradio.com and Hot News Talk Radio, you can search it on the TuneIn Radio app as well. And look, you press like, press play, you have Hot News Talk Radio literally everywhere you go. So you're listening to Clutch. This is local sports. I try and not to run away with the nation's headlines, even though we're kind of in that time of year where the national stuff is starting to matter. We're getting to the NBA playoffs, which is the part of the season that people actually care about. We're getting to the NCAA tournament, and we've got a situation where UTC could get in to the tournament, and they're a 14 seed, they're a 13 seed. That's a position where you can make some noise potentially. They beat VMI last night by a couple of points, got a big lead coming out of halftime, and then hung on to win the game at the end. So the Mocs, again, based on their strength of schedule and based on their just solid record, having won the SoCon tournament, not SoCon tournament, but the SoCon title outright. I mean, you've got some arguments here for UTC potentially just being the most exciting thing going on in this area. And what else have we got going on? The NFL draft. The Tennessee Titans have the #1 overall pick. What are they going to do with it? Are they going to take an offensive lineman? They're going to take Tunsil, like a lot of people think. Are they going to try and trade and get more picks? Because I have a thing with the Titans, and really NFL free agency is also starting up as well. So where are we now? Like, what do the Titans do to try and improve? Because we've seen it happen time and time again. Teams can make leaps, especially in the NFL, very quickly. You've got a weak schedule, you've got the right amount of talent, and all of a sudden, an unlikely team puts together a run. So this is a weak conference that the Titans play in. What do? So we're here where this national side of everything is starting to really matter. Most of the year really doesn't matter. Baseball's returning. What do the Braves look like? They've got a lot of prospects, but are they good enough right now to have a decent season? Their last season at Turner Field. So many things, okay? So many things. And we're going to get into all of those. We're going to get in all of it. You know what I mean? So let's start with let's start with the NFL here, because what I want to talk about is my skepticism of a couple of things. One, the Tennessee Titans, they're on the clock, and as the draft approaches, they have a lot of options with what they're going to do with their first pick. I think a lot of people think they ought to trade it, that maybe they should trade the pick, try and get more picks. I think that is the smart and prudent way to go. Okay. They have a lot of holes to fill, not just on the offensive side of the ball, offensive line, wide receiver. You might want a second back to try and get some, a change of pace back for Bishop Sankey. Like, you just have a lot of holes you need to fill. Quarterback is not one. Like, when you have the number one overall pick, that's usually the thing you're trying to address. Now you've got Mariota, and you still got to figure out like how far you can go with him. He showed a lot of signs and a lot of promise that he's going to be that franchise guy, but you don't need to draft a quarterback. Defensive side of the ball, pick a position. There's a need there. Linebacker, need it filled. Defensive back, need it filled. Defensive line, really need it filled. So the Titans have a lot of things that they can do in the draft. Maybe trading that pick is the right decision. But here's the thing. Free agency is obviously a place where you can address some of these needs as well. But I've been thinking, okay, does anybody in NFL free agency actually leave happy? Has that actually worked out for anybody? Seriously. I mean, defensive players end up getting scooped up in free agency a lot. And the Titans, like I said, need defensive linemen. You have a need there, but at the same time, what do you do? Because the track record of people in free agency that have actually come and helped your team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, you'd think that it would be more successful, but it's not. In the NFL, it's a lot about fit. It's a lot about the other personnel on the team. This isn't like the NBA where you can hold out and try and see if you can sneak a Kevin Durant, because you get Kevin Durant, he changes the face of your entire team. This isn't that. You need a superstar in that league. You don't need a superstar at any position that's not quarterback at the NFL. The other ones that you find are nice, like J.J. Watt is nice, but the Texans aren't going anywhere until they have a quarterback. Right? So Ndamukong Suh, he's nice, but you've got good days with Ryan Tannehill, and then you've got the other days with Ryan Tannehill. The Dolphins aren't going anywhere as long as he's inconsistent. So, like, you've got good players, but you don't need superstars at any position that's not quarterback in the NFL. So my question is, like, does anybody actually leave happy from NFL free agency? In Major League Baseball, you don't always leave happy. Your team, you may end up signing Albert Pujols. You might be the Angels. You might overpay Albert Pujols, and you're not happy with what you got out of him because you paid him way too much money. But at the same time, Albert Pujols left happy. Shoot, if I had a contract like that, I'd be happy too. But in the NFL, the contracts aren't even guaranteed. You could be released by the team. You're looking at a situation in Buffalo. The Bills released Mario Williams. So who's happy in that scenario? The fans aren't happy because Mario Williams was a fan favorite. People liked him. He wasn't playing poorly. He just wasn't a great fit for the system that they're running now that they have Rex Ryan in there. So you've got that problem. Mario Williams can't be happy that he had job security. He had a team that he was playing for, that he must like his teammates, all of those things. And all of a sudden you're released. He's not happy. The team is clearly not happy with him. Otherwise, they would not have released him. But at the same time, they pursued him. Like they made sure that Mario Williams, when he visited them, he went into Buffalo and did not leave without being a Buffalo Bill. That was a whole huge thing with them. And Now they've just released him. Like, who actually wins in NFL free agency? I'm curious because I have a theory, which is that nobody does. Like, you should just not try and make any big name signings during free agency, at least not near the beginning. Wait. You should just wait because it's so pointless sometimes. You got a case last season, and Ndamukong Suh, he becomes the highest paid defensive player. He goes to the Dolphins, and you're like, wow. Ndamukong Suh on that line, you add him to Cameron Wake. Like, how beastly could the Dolphins be? Average, like the Dolphins always are. They're not beastly at all. They're just okay. And I just have to wonder, because Ndamukong Suh, at least that paycheck for him is nice. But like I said, a lot of that contract, not guaranteed. A good situation or a good example of that situation is the Washington Redskins signing Albert Haynesworth, which, by the way, Titans fans could have warned everybody about that from a million miles away, but whatever. Albert Haynesworth goes and he signs the famed $100 million contract, but really only $40 million of that was guaranteed. Like, they never committed more than $40 million guaranteed, which was still way too much for what they got for him, which was nothing and laziness. But he didn't leave as happy as anybody would have thought. He didn't play in the scheme the way he wanted to. The team wasn't happy. The fans weren't happy. So what was the point? You try and make these big splashes in free agency. You try and be the offseason champs. Being the offseason champs means a lot in college football. You recruit well. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win, but you can't win without recruiting well. It doesn't necessarily mean you're the best, but you can't be the best without a top 10 class. You just look back at the last bunch of national champions, and they all had, at some point, a top 10 recruiting class to draw talent from. So you have to have that. But the offseason in professional sports and in the NFL specifically, I'm not so sure you want to win that. I'm not certain that that's something that you want to be, winning. I'm looking like the Raiders for the longest time were offseason champs, but there's no Super Bowls to show for any of that. There's no playoff appearances to show for any of that. You just sign the biggest name available, and you're like, wow, this team is going to round the corner. Then the guy's not a great fit, or you just have other catastrophic things happen, or you just had other positions of need that you also didn't fill, and then we were just blinded by the signing, and then you're back at where you started. I don't know who's actually winning NFL free agency. And in the NBA, all those contracts are guaranteed. So if the team's not winning, hey, at least the players are. The contracts aren't guaranteed in the NFL. So who's actually winning this? Like, nobody. We just all leave more depressed and more sad for having gone through it, which is why I've really cooled off on NFL free agency. Like, it used to be exciting. It's not exciting. NBA free agency, when stuff actually happens, that's exciting. Granted that, like, in the last few years, stuff doesn't happen until the last second, or this past NBA free agency, like, nothing really happened. Like, you were just waiting for that first domino to fall, and then just a billion trades would happen, and then you have stuff to talk about for weeks. Nothing happened at all. It was depressing and boring. He was like, I had this whole thing. My brother came on the show. We broke down how you fix the Hawks. We were ready for Jeff Teague is on the chopping block. He's on the trading block. Al Horford is on the trading block. Al Horford and Jeff Teague are still in Atlanta, which I think is good. I like that team together, but Jeff Teague is still in Atlanta. Would have been more fun if there was a trade there, is what I'm saying. Okay, the most interesting thing that happened in that entire period was, wait for it, Thiago Splitter decided to have season-ending surgery. Like, that's not the thing I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about Thiago Splitter's surgery. That's not interesting at all. There's no intrigue. There's no drama. It's just, I hope Thiago Splitter has a good surgery. Okay. It's not like the Hawks aren't in NBA purgatory to begin with. They're like exactly where you don't want to be in the modern NBA. They're not a contender, and they don't stink enough to have a high draft pick. So Where are you? You're making the playoffs. You'll go to the Eastern Conference semifinals. You'll be beaten by somebody. Your season is over. It's not fun. I'll tell you that. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, we just didn't have anything to talk about. But NBA free agency, usually, at least the tension, we had the tension to talk about. We were like, okay, this is how you could fix the Hawks. This is where you could send Jeff Teague. This is what you could get back. And what ended up actually happening was nothing. And that nothing is more exciting than what the NFL free agency has become. Major League Baseball free agency is just always exciting because it's just who is going to try and buy a championship by throwing large, unnecessary amounts of money at players who are probably past their prime or very past their prime. Who's going to be the team to do it? And you're always looking to see who it is, and it's usually the Yankees, and it never fails every single year. And again, if it's not exciting, if it's weird, then at least the players win because all of that money is guaranteed and there's no salary cap, so they just make just an infinite amount of money, it feels like. Somebody's coming away with something. We don't come away with anything. The players come away with nothing. The fans come away with nothing. The teams come away with nothing in the NFL. It is such a bizarre thing, and there's nothing else that really works like that, where it's just like we look forward to this thing every year. It disappoints us year after year after year. There isn't one single year of NFL free agency that's actually engaging and thoroughly exciting like you want it to be. So the Titans are probably just better off not doing anything for free agency. Just wait until after the draft to figure out what you want to do. Seriously, just like draft your pieces first. Okay, these are the holes we filled in the draft. Who's left in free agency? In fact, you're not almost better off doing that. You actually are better off doing that, because the other option is you pay somebody an exorbitant amount of money, or at least threaten to pay them an exorbitant amount of money, because, of course, the contract's not being completely fully guaranteed, et cetera, et cetera. And they're usually front-loaded the way that the NFL works, so you end up taking a giant cap hit for no reason. Why go through all of that? Why swim upstream? It seems more unnecessary. Just not a fan of it anymore. NFL free agency. Like, it used to be, like, seriously, I used to sit down and just watch NFL Network all day. There was a time when that was fun. It's not fun anymore. Cannot do it. Cannot bring myself to sit down and just sift through all the NFL free agency stuff and enjoy it. Like, I'll do it because that's work, that's the job, but like, I just don't enjoy it. Meanwhile, you've got hilarious stories in Major League Baseball, like Ian Desmond. He's with the Nationals. He turns down an extension for 7 years, $120 million, and he's got, I don't remember what his contract is now with the Rangers, but it's some ridiculously tiny contract. Like, if a person has ever shot themselves in the foot harder and more often, I don't know who that is. Like, he really just messed himself over on that one. Ian Desmond was looking at a payday, walked away from the payday to try and get more money, banking on himself. Just like, man, what are you doing? I understand there's a phrase, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. But all I'm saying is, if someone guaranteed me $120 million over the next 7 years, okay, and I'm not Bryce Harper, I'm looking at that money and I'm taking it. I'm taking it and running. Like, Ian Desmond is not going to become magically even greater than he is. I don't know how he thought that there was going to be more than 120 mil out in the world for him. I'm not sure. He is a very good baseball player. He's not $120 million of a good baseball player, but he's a very good baseball player. So why did he think that there was more than $120 million there? Like, that's a reason to fire your agent. Like, your agent is just straight up lying to you. If he's telling you you've got $120 million on you, I'm sure you can get more than this. I'm sure you can. And your name is Ian Desmond. You're not a superstar, okay? You're not Manny Machado. You're Ian Desmond. Sure. Okay, fine. Yeah. Right. You're not Jonas Cespedes. I don't get it. Like, I just don't get it. You're listening to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. That's me. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to move on in the next segment. We're going to talk about Super Tuesday. We're going to talk a little bit more about some SEC rivalries. Just interesting stuff today. We've got a lot to dig into, and we'll get into that and more next.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
I'm going to Carter Shooting Supply.
Carter Shooting Supply.
That's right, Carter Shooting Supply. They're having a great sale on all of their guns right now, and it's name brands like Smith & Wesson, Ruger, Springfield, their AR-15s. They've got the hottest gun in the land right now, the Sky 9mm. Man, it comes in all the cool colors. If you're an Alabama fan, they've got crimson. If you're a big orange fan, they've got an orange one. You know, all the women are loving the pink one in Tiffany blue. Plus, it has a lifetime warranty replacement. If the gun is stolen, all you need is your police report or receipt, and they'll replace it free. It has a 60-day full money-back guarantee. That's Carter Shooting Supply. They're in Harrison right there at 6210 Highway 58.
Are they online?
Yes, they are. That's cartershootingsupply.com, or give them a call, 423-344-1099. Now, this sale's not going to last too long, so you need to hurry up and get there. And they do have a great indoor shooting facility. You can get your Tennessee handgun carry permit also. That's Carter Shooting Supply, 423-344-1099. You need a place for your party or maybe a wedding reception for 100 or even more. Maybe you'd like to host a small trade show for your business, and you need a very affordable venue. Are you looking for a place for your birthday gala or services to start up a church? Look no further than the Hidden Gem in Hickson. It's an overlooked, newly appointed reception hall right here in Hickson, Tennessee. Big space, small price. That's right, big space, small price. Call Mr. Chu and ask for a tour. 316-7388. That's 423-316-7388. He'll tell you a lot more about the venue. Rent this venue today. Just call 423-316-7388 and ask for Mr. Chu.
Hello, I'm Mike Little, candidate for criminal court judge with 25 years of criminal court experience, which makes me the most qualified candidate. The experience I have gained from handling over 4,000 cases in state and federal court has equipped me with the ability to be fair, impartial, and independent. As your next criminal court judge, I will focus on keeping Hamilton County safe. I view this position as a public service and will strive to improve the daily operations of court. I humbly ask for your trust and vote in the March 1st Republican primary.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mike Little. Barry Abbott, treasurer.
Areas of rain will move off to the east for the nighttime hours. Breezy, colder overnight, lows into the mid, maybe upper 30s. Now for your Wednesday, more sunshine returns, but still breezy. Highs will struggle to hit 50. Tomorrow night, cold and frosty, lows near freezing with more clouds and some late showers returning Thursday. Your business needs can change in an instant. Account Temps can help by providing accounting and finance professionals on a temporary basis whenever you need them. Call today. That's Account Temps, a Robert Half company. And I'm Swargene 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
When the weather turns bad, turn to AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. On the net, hotnewstalkradio.com. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From the Hot News Talk Radio Weather Center. Chattanooga, we've got you covered. When the weather turns bad, the Tennessee Valley turns to Hot News Talk Radio.
Go, 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 go.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. School will go on despite shooting threats at Ottawa High School. The principal, Jim Jarvis, sent an email to parents of students at the school informing them of 2 additional threats of a shooting written on a bathroom wall today. This is the 3rd time in 2 days that a threat of a shooting on March the 1st has been written on a bathroom wall at the school. Despite that, the principal says that school will go on. Some parents are voluntarily keeping their children home. On Monday, some parents checked students out of schools, and teachers said that attendance was down due to the continuing threat. Attendance is expected to be down again tomorrow. Parents are saying that they're keeping their students home. In Appleton, a 3-year-old boy has died after being shot on Monday morning inside of a car in Appleton. The Hamilton County Sheriff's Office was dispatched to that location at around 9:30 a.m. The preliminary investigation conducted by the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office indicates that the child was shot while inside of a family vehicle. The investigation is still ongoing, and it's currently not known if the shooting was intentional or accidental. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot News Talk Radio.
Hot News Talk 1240.
So here's an interesting case of separating a person from their story, or separating a person from their rights, what it is that they deserve. Erin Andrews, she is former ESPN analyst. She works for Fox Sports 1 now. Good reporter, good at her job. And she had a couple of incidents that were noteworthy while she was still an employee of ESPN. The first being that she was at a Marriott hotel, and then someone made a peephole, and they spied on her while she was naked and changing, recorded it, uploaded the videos to the internet. The Marriott is saying right now that those videos did not have any impact on Erin Andrews' career. Which they might be true. That might be true. They might be right about that one. But who cares? Her right to privacy was completely invaded. That's what matters here. What difference does it make that it didn't ruin her career? And then, of course, the incident that did ruin Erin Andrews' career at ESPN, while she was an employee at ESPN, she had her car towed and just went in on the person who was standing behind the desk that towed her car, basically saying all sorts of things. First off, she dropped the "Do you know who I am?" which is just never do that, okay? I understand that getting your car towed is justifiably angering and infuriating, because it's happened to me, and it is one of the worst feelings on earth. And you feel helpless and you feel powerless. And if you are a person who tows a car, okay, and I'm not alone in this, there's many people behind me on this one. If you're a person who tows a car, you are an awful person. I'm just saying. I'm standing behind that one, okay? Maybe not the tow person necessarily, because you're just doing your job, but that's an evil business, though, right? You're not. What are you doing? You're taking advantage of people in positions while they're away from their car. And, some people deserve to have their car towed. If they're breaking the law, then they get their car towed. I don't have as much sympathy for that person as if a person is just accidentally in the wrong spot or whatever. It's like you don't deserve to have your car taken away and then charged to get it back. That is the most asinine thing I've ever seen. Like, the fact that this is a legal business in this country blows my mind. And I despise just car towing as a concept. Okay, I won't go any further than that because I'm not trying to offend anybody really. But man, as just a concept, terrible. Just awful. So she's mad and justifiably upset because I'm angry now just thinking about the idea of a car towing. Like, my car hasn't been towed in a while, and I'm still like, grr. So I can't imagine how upset she was, but she didn't have to belittle the person behind the desk, talk about that person's education, that maybe they just had a high school education, just insult them with rudeness. And so when you start to see Erin Andrews, you start to feel like a little less bad for just all of the things that happened to her because of how she treated that person. But that shouldn't really affect where this case stands, though. which is that nobody deserves to be peeped on while they're changing. Nobody does. And even if Erin Andrews isn't a very nice person, just because she's not a nice person doesn't mean that she deserves bad things to happen to her. You know, and we should all feel bad when bad things happen to others, because that level of empathy that you share to somebody might actually change a person from being a bad person. Maybe. I mean, there's no guarantees on that one. I'm just saying that is a possibility that exists. Extend kindness whenever you can, even if the person you're extending the kindness to is not nice. If they're not nice, I mean, you still extend it. Be kind anyway. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Make sure to check us out. Respond to us. Talk to us. We respond back. We'd love to hear from you, and whatever you feel you need to get off of your chest, whatever you feel like you have to say. And, of course, the ways that you can listen to us on YouTube. We stream everything. And, of course, all of our episodes, you can play it back. Classic episodes. We never call them old. Never. Never. And you can find us on hotnewstalkradio.com. Just open up a tab and leave us alone. We're good. That's all. That's all we need. We just need an open tab. That's all. And in the TuneIn Radio app, in the Google Store, Google Play Store, or the Apple Store, just free to download. Give us a follow, press play, have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. And see, it was raining today. Yesterday, it was sunny. It was sunny as all get out. It was such a beautiful day yesterday. I thought it was going to last all week. I was incorrect. And you know why I was incorrect? Because I didn't check the Bloom Sky app. Hot News Talk Radio has partnered with Bloom Sky. We've got a nice app situation there. So make sure to add that to your mobile device as well, and you'll be able to have the weather everywhere you go. So I was thinking about politics because it's taken over everything. It's everywhere. There's no place on the internet that you can look that doesn't have some politician gasbagging somewhere. That's just what the nature of election season does to people. This is what it does to us. We lose our minds. Okay, I'm supporting this candidate. I'm supporting that candidate. And how dare you have the opinion that you have? I'm going to change your mind. And we just go crazy with this stuff. And this year, probably more so than others, because of the extremes that you have in Bernie Sanders and you have with Donald Trump. And you've just got controversial people involved in these political races. Hillary and the Benghazi emails, and Trump and everything that falls out of his face. And is Ted Cruz American? He was born in Canada. And you're just looking at all of these weird shifting things. And you're just like, this election season has probably just been the weirdest, most bizarre. If anybody would have told me that Donald Trump was still going to be the front runner for the Republicans, I would have called you nuts. I think that he is a crazy person. That's just my personal opinion. I understand. I'm followed, by the way, by Mike Gallagher. He's the conservative warrior, and he follows me here on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. And I like Gallagher. He's got a good show, smart guy. He's going to stand up for whatever Republican there is. I'm not going to stand up for whatever Republican there is. Donald Trump is bonkers. I'm not going to stand up for him. So I was thinking about which people in sports are most like the political candidates left in the race. And I was thinking about it, and I was having some trouble. I was having trouble coming up with Bernie, just because Bernie is grouchy. Bernie is temperamental. Bernie is old, and that's like a lot of people from New York. Like, I just described a lot of New Yorkers is really what I did. So there's to me, I'm like, he could easily be Pat Riley. You know, there's so many people he could be. It's like, I was going to give him Pat Riley, and I was like, because he's sincere, earnest, grumpy, older. I was going to give him Pat Riley. Like, that's like 100 million people. So I left Bernie Sanders alone. I couldn't think of something for him at all. But I have for Hillary Clinton, and I have to preface this by saying, this is just from a public persona standpoint, not for accomplishments or things achieved, just a public persona. Hillary Clinton is comparable to Michael Jordan. Now, pay attention to what I said. I said public persona. I'm not saying that Hillary Clinton is as great as Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan, like, look at the things that Michael Jordan has said and the way that he says the things in public and the way that Hillary carries herself in public. And to me, there's a lot of striking similarities there. Here's Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is he says whatever's on his mind. You know, he's got a very good team of people around him to help keep him and his image clean, keep him marketable. Okay, which that's what Hillary does. Michael Jordan has been known to just say really mean things to people. Just say it because it has to be said, I guess. And Michael Jordan, even at his Hall of Fame induction ceremony, was taking cheap shots at people. And people that you were just like, aren't you guys friends? Like, just taking cheap shots at Charles Barkley. Michael Jordan does stuff like that. And Hillary Clinton at the town hall that the Democrats did a couple of weeks back with Bernie and herself and the guy that has 5% of the Democratic votes. They did their town hall and it was nice and everything, I guess. And Hillary was asked a question by a young voter. You know, you don't come off as very genuine, and a lot of people my age don't like you. Why do you think that is? And she basically mocked him for being a young person and not knowing enough in the world. Like, that's not a way to be, but that is the way that she chose to handle that. And the stories about Michael Jordan behaving in that similar a manner, just being a jerk sometimes, you're just like, wow. There's a list of stories. Michael Jordan just does not care. And I'm not saying that Hillary doesn't care, but she doesn't seem to mind taking up this mantle of, I'm just going to be a jerk right now because if I do that, it serves my purpose, right? Michael Jordan would do and say jerkish things. And I guess you could add like Kobe Bryant and guys with that persona in the mix because ultimately it served their end and their purpose. Well, Hillary did that to get that guy off of her back. That basically he's saying, you know, young people don't like and or vote for you. And instead of saying, I don't know if that's true, or having a diplomatic response to that, she's like, yeah, you're young, you don't know anything. Oh, cool. Nice. Wonderful way of handling that one there, Miss Clinton. And then, of course, our Republican frontrunner, Donald Trump, who he had more. That was an easier one to do, right? Like Bernie Sanders is tough because it's like, who is Bernie actually like? He's a grumpy old man. Pick a grumpy old coach, and he's that guy. Donald Trump is not just a grumpy old man. Donald Trump is a little kooky, delusional, very, very odd, surprising that he is where he is. And so I was going to go with Brett Bielema. I think that Brett Bielema is the perfect choice there, personally. But my brother did suggest Drunk Pete Rose. And I have to tell you, that is actually, Drunk Pete Rose has no filter, says basically whatever, and it's usually something that you could take as being racist or at least bigoted in some way. And he just generally comes off as a guy that you just want to go away. Like, I trusted and liked your name at one point, but now I don't trust and like your name. Why are you still here? Go away. That's Drunk Pete Rose. It's Drunk Pete Rose. Pete Rose during the World Series last year. That's what that is. But Brett Bielema works too, because Brett Bielema is constantly running his mouth. He's always putting down or making fun of other people for no adequately explained reason. He's got a lot of machismo, a lot of bravado, a lot of rhetoric that he doesn't necessarily always back up. Not unlike Donald Trump always threatening to sue somebody. Like, Donald Trump might threaten to sue me tomorrow. Just because he's Trump. That's what he does. It's like those Geico commercials. You're Donald Trump. You threaten to sue people. It's what you do. You want lower rates on your insurance, you switch to Geico. It's what you do. That's what that reminds me of. It's just you're Donald Trump, you sue people or threaten to sue people. It's what you do. He doesn't actually sue anybody. Like, look at all the people that he's ever threatened to sue. He doesn't sue anybody. So you're just like, okay, he's all bark and no bite. Brett Bielema does a lot of talking in the SEC. He doesn't do a whole lot of winning, though. Like, not lately, anyway. He had a couple of back-to-back seasons that were like, wow, okay, this is really good. And I'm shocked that they're winning as consistently as they are, the way that they're winning. But lately, Brett Bielema and his very large mouth have fallen on hard times. And the comparisons between him and Donald Trump are inescapable, completely inescapable. Okay, to me, I'm looking at the same guy. All right. Except, I actually think Brett Bielema is rather surprisingly more humble than Donald Trump somehow. Donald Trump is I don't even know what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know why he has supporters still. Okay, like I know that Cruz and Rubio aren't like the best guys left, but I have a feeling like legitimately they go in the White House, I can trust what they're going to do in there. Like I can trust what they're going to do in there. Donald Trump goes into the White House and it's anybody's guess. He's supported. Really, Donald Trump is like just a big business supporter. If Donald Trump feels like a Republican's going to meet that end, he'll do it. He'll support that person. He's supported Hillary in the past. The last time she ran, he donated money to her. If he feels like it meets his end, I don't want that person in the White House. I just don't. It's terrifying. Can we just not anymore? And I do this and I say this without actually having any of the results from Super Tuesday. I could have looked that up, but rather I like to fly blindly into the wind. That's what I do. You're welcome. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose. I promise this is a sports show. We'll turn the attention of this back towards sports more because I do want to get into some SEC rivalries. I know that there was a thing that came out earlier this week. It was like a Reddit poll that they talked about the rivalries that different schools have, and the poll is not necessarily a rivalry poll so much as like, who do you hate the most? Which school do you hate the most? And of course, there were some ridiculous things in there because like Delaware fans end up hating Alabama a lot for no reason. And you're just like, what? And like the poll didn't really make any sense, but hey, that's what people actually believed. Okay, it's a small sample size. It's Reddit. Okay, I don't know what anybody expected. It's frequent internet using young sports fans. Of course, the results weren't going to make any sense. So they run the results out there on the Paul Feinbaum show. And I learned some things about Paul Feinbaum, which is besides the fact that I find him exceedingly boring, Paul Feinbaum didn't know what Reddit was. And to me, this blows my mind. If you're just average person living in life, you don't need to know what Reddit is. It's a nice little place to pull news stories, find pictures, stuff. Man, it's another place on the internet. You don't need Reddit in your life. If you don't have it, you're okay. But if you're in the media, it's a nice collection of stories, right? Like it's a nice little collection of stories, and you can always go in there, pull ideas, people post stats and things like that. Like if you're in the media and you're not just casually walking by Reddit, especially in the sports media, just because of how obsessive those groups can be to the point where you find out all kinds of information that has basically been researched for you. And as long as you give credit to where it's due to whatever person on Reddit found it, I don't see any problem with going there for information. You'd be crazy not to. Okay, it'd be insane to not to. Paul Feinbaum doesn't go at all. He's never heard of it. And I don't know why that was surprising to me. Like, of course he hasn't. Paul Feinbaum is like your grandpa. But at the same time, you're just like, how do you... I'm not saying that you have to go there for information. You don't. I often go to Reddit and find nothing for like weeks. But every now and then you find a gem and you can build a segment off of it. Like, why wouldn't you use all of the resources available to you? That's one on the internet that's just like, that's a layup, man. And he didn't even find the thing himself. Somebody on his staff did. You're just like, why? Why are you out in these streets missing layups, man? Why are you doing this to yourself? This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And so there's a SEC Country is a great blog. I highly enjoy the blog. I've been trying to get Jay Clemens of SEC Country to come on the show for a while. I mean, it's because he's just that good of a writer, and I think it's just that good of a blog. But he did the SEC top 5 rivalries right now, and I really agree with some of these rivalries. Like, I really buy in, and I think the thing I love about this the most is that like I see the breakdown as to why these rivalries are huge, and it's hard to deny some of them. So let's go in, because it's a pretty cool top 5. I don't necessarily agree with like everything on the list, but it's such a well-written list. Number 5, LSU versus Mississippi State. Basically, during the time that Dak Prescott was there, LSU and Mississippi State have gone back and forth. Both of them winning on the road. Bulldogs win in an upset in Baton Rouge. And then the year after that, the Tigers win 21-19 on the road in Mississippi State. And so it's just like, wow, like these games are close. The players involved are very good. And there's, Mississippi State and LSU have both been kind of top flight programs over the last few years. LSU scores a lot of points. Like, they score a ton of points. Like, it's weird because LSU is capable of turning any game into anything. Like, they can get into shootouts with you and you're just like, wow, how on earth? And then they can just have these weird, bizarre defensive battles with you where the winner wins 6-3 and you're just looking at a game that didn't make any sense statistically on paper, and it was enjoyable and you're not sure why because nobody was scoring points. But be that as it may, LSU, Mississippi State, I think that's a really good rivalry for this list. And I don't think you'll be surprised to find out, by the way, that Alabama is in a lot of rivalries lately. When you're good, that's usually how it goes down. Everybody's a rival of the Yankees when the Yankees are good. Everybody is a rival of the Cowboys when the Cowboys are good. Okay, it's just how the nature of the beast. So Alabama versus Auburn, great rivalry. This one, of course, is not just recent. This one goes way back. And the Iron Bowl represents probably one of the biggest rivalry games in all of sports, not just college football. Auburn and Alabama, between the two of them, have claimed the last 3 SEC championships. And Auburn and Alabama have what, they scored 99 points in the last Iron Bowl. And the only team to really beat Alabama and bother them, Auburn. The only team to really do that. So again, not only is that a good rivalry historically, that's just a good rivalry in the scope of how things have played out lately. Here's a great rivalry, and I know that Russell really cares about this one a lot. Russell's not a huge football fan, but when Georgia plays Tennessee, he's wearing red, man. He's supporting the Dogs, and that's a great rivalry. I really liked the game that they played this year, Tennessee rallying from down 21 at half. But let me tell you, the cumulative final score between the two teams in their last 3 meetings, Tennessee 101, Georgia 100. It's just been so close. They've been so close, and I expect that rivalry to continue through the Kirby Smart era. LSU versus Alabama. Alabama showing up again. This is a huge rivalry. This past season, Alabama got the better of LSU. And, of course, the number 1 rivalry, Alabama versus Ole Miss, which I didn't expect. But like when you go back through it, you're like, no, this one here, surprisingly, really, really good rivalry. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
in the middle of our street.
Hi, I'm Sabrina with Sabrina Realty Associates. Now is a great time to sell your home. In our area, inventory is at an all-time low, which translates into higher sales prices. Call us today at 423